then obviously the next step for your business or the next step for your product is to then, go out and start to find those people and find ways to engage with those people with your product messaging, with your brand messaging, whichever level that you're looking to communicate to these people. How's it going, everybody? Episode 32, 33, losing track. Probably going to stop using the episode numbers soon. I think that's the best thing to do. It's starting to get quite a few. We're not stopping, and it's awesome. Wanted to tell you another story today about personas. Now, the first time that I was introduced to personas was in Tetra Pak. And when I talk about personas, what I mean is, how we define who our customers are. And I think this is a really powerful tool that I don't see enough people talking about and actually using, both in the business world or the enterprise world, and in small businesses and on online businesses. And I think it's really useful, and I just don't get it why people don't use it. And I think you should all learn more about it and use it. So what are personas? Well, they are basically your way of defining who your customer is. And that's going to be really helpful for any business, right? Is to be able to say, this is my customer. And it's a really, really powerful tool for you, because once you start going into the process of working with personas, you will realize that you don't know as much about your customers as you thought you did. And that when you need to define your customers better, you're going to struggle in a way that you hadn't anticipated that you were going to struggle. So therefore, you're going to really find this a really interesting activity that's going to really inform you about how much you know about your target customers, whether you even have a good target customer or not. And then once you actually do know more about your customers, you're going to be able to talk much more knowledgeably about them. And then you're going to then, most crucially, be able to target content, products, and everything else that you do operationally in your business towards those customers much better. So how do you do a customer persona? What you need to do is you need to get around, a group of people who you're working with. If you're working by yourself because you're a small business, that's also okay. But it helps to have more than one person involved in this sort of stuff. And it helps when you can actually get some exchange of ideas. I've done it in several different formats. We've used an agency to go out and do research and do it. I don't recommend that because I feel that they would never really have the same connection to your customers that you should have, and that going through this process is as important as the end result of the process itself. The way that I like to do it is the way that Matt Watkinson actually taught me to do it. And I think that that's really the best way to approach the whole problem of understanding and identifying your customers. Now, we're not talking about segmenting yet. I'm just talking about trying to personify your customer. And so what you want to do is you basically want to think about who your ideal customers are. You want to go out onto the internet, into libraries, into the world of customer, intelligence, anywhere where you can find information about those target customers. If it's a business to business, you want to start by getting information about the businesses you want to do business with. Then if it's consumers, you want to go out and get information about the types of consumers that you're looking for. What are some of the ways that you could do that? You can obviously go onto social media, you can take out profiles, you can look at what they're commenting on, who they're following, who they like, what things they're sharing. So you can gather a lot of data, for free with just a little bit of time about consumers. With businesses, you can also do the same thing, obviously focusing a bit more on LinkedIn maybe and Facebook. But you can then also, usually businesses share a lot more literature about who they are and what they do. And that's what you want to get to. When you're talking about businesses as well, I think it's really important that you also want to identify who are the individual people. I've seen some personas where they're talking about businesses, and that's helpful. But it is even more helpful, and this was something that Matt also taught me, which I believe is very important, is that you need to identify individuals that would be the people who would make the decisions, who would influence the decisions and who would actually make the decisions to do business with you. Once you have it down to that level, you really know who you're targeting your marketing to and your sales to, and you know that you may need different approaches for different people in the same organization in order to do that effectively. That's how you're trying to plan it out. So you've gathered all of this information together. Then what you're going to do is you're basically going to do what's called an affinity diagramming process, which is fairly straightforward and it's fun. It's just a form of brainstorming. You can Google it and it'll come up with loads of ways of how to do it. And it's a very powerful, fun exercise. Do that and then you'll end up with groups of your customers. You can then identify your individual representative person for each group. You'll know what their different attributes are. What are their interests? What do they do? What are their regular tasks? What causes them pain? What are the regular feelings that they have? Who is their typical boss? What is their typical buying power if you're talking in a consumer or even in a business context? What are their wants and needs? What are the brands that they like to identify with? All of these things you'll be able to capture and you'll be able to document, and then you can list them out for the different personas that you want. And don't think that you need to have one single persona. It's totally fine to have multiple personas, and you probably should. But what you want to narrow down on is the different people that you want to prioritize your business towards. Once you've got all of that sort of information together and you've got those personas, then obviously the next step for your business or the next step for your product is to then, go out and start to find those people and find ways to engage with those people with your product messaging, with your brand messaging, whichever level that you're looking to communicate to these people. So that's a quick run through personas. I've found them extremely helpful. We've used them a lot internally. I've seen other people use them very effectively. I think that they're something that you need to use more in your business, whatever it is. If you don't do it, take some time now to go away and do it, because I think the value that it'll bring back to you as a learning process and of using the end result in order to then target your content much better and your marketing and your sales much better will be invaluable. So hope you like this. It's a quick view on personas. We could talk about a lot more if people are interested. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please give us a like, please share, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Thanks.